Hey everyone, and welcome to Smeeple's first Smeeple Live event of 2024. And for those who have been following us closely since our infancy a year and a half ago, this is actually our first one. So we are excited to kick this series off. For those who don't know me, my name is Josh Malalu. I am one of the co-founders here along with Calvin Holston. And we are so thrilled to bring this live event to you today. For those of you who may not yet know what Smeeple is, just to give you a quick overview, it is a platform for consumers to be able to connect with experts across a wide range of categories. We've all been there where we've gone on Google and we've gone in social media looking for the types of answers and things to our questions, whether we need to fix a faucet, whether we want to learn a new skill or trait. And what we've done is we've built a platform with more than 250 experts who are available at your fingertips to be able to give you the customized answers that you need all through video. And we're absolutely honored to have three of our experts here today. I'll introduce them and ask them to go into a little bit more in depth about each of them and the work that they do in their respective fields. But for those of you who are joining, again, welcome. The Smeeple app is available in all app stores, so please download, check it out, and we're excited to kick things off. So to start, I'd love to introduce the esteemed experts that we have joining us today. The first, Katie Kretschke, Aaron Costa, and Tim Machado. We'll start with Katie. Katie, welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Would love to, if you could, just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, how you got into your respective field, and we're ready to learn.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Josh. Again, my name is Katie. I am the Homesteading RD. You might have seen me on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook and all those wonderful platforms to help teach you how to live a more self-sufficient lifestyle, whether that's starting a garden, raising chickens, making your own herbal remedies. All of that are my favorite topics and things that I love educating others on.
Love it. Welcome. Thank you so much. Aaron, how about you?
Hi, I'm Aaron Costa. I love all things related to design and decor. I studied interior design in college, but ultimately ended up with a business degree. I was a buyer for a major retailer for about 13 years, and I currently help clients create spaces that they love, and I work with top brands to create content to showcase their products.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. And Tim, finally, introduce yourself, please.
Josh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of Smeeple and doing this live stream with you guys. I'm Tim Machado. I'm a nutrition and personal training coach. Essentially, I help people all around the world just live a healthier lifestyle. I love giving back and spreading kind of my knowledge and my passion for health and wellness. And I'm excited to answer some questions and be here today to help support you guys.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. So let's jump right in. Katie, I want to start with you. Homesteading is oftentimes a word that I think we see a lot show up. We hear a lot about. We don't necessarily know exactly what it means. And so can you help our listeners and our viewers start to understand a little bit more about what is actually homesteading, what goes into it, and how can one really get started in that practice?
I think that's a great question to start with because it is kind of a vague term and it looks so different for each person. But in general, it's living a more self-sufficient lifestyle, a more sustainable way of living, and just reducing your dependence on modern conveniences. And it could look anything like what you would typically think of living on an acreage, having a milk cow and a big garden and canning all your food, but it could look like urban homesteading too, where you're at least doing sourdough bread. Maybe you have a small garden or even just containers on your deck. So there's really a big spectrum there. Any small step to becoming more self-sufficient counts in my book.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine the pandemic, did that sort of draw a lot of new people to sort of exploring and experimenting with different types of homesteading lifestyle?
Absolutely. That was a pivotal point that really kind of shook the world and and our food supply and our food chain, and just kind of made everyone pause, not to mention all the extra free time we had, being locked at home for a while, just starting to there was a shift, that's for sure. And I all of a sudden moved from the weirdo over here. No one really quite understood why I was homesteading, to all of a sudden I was cool. And I was like, oh, all right, people actually want to learn about this now. That's great. So that's kind of where all of this came from.
Yeah. And is there when you talk to, a lot of, I know you and I have obviously had a lot of conversations before, and we've done some work together as well. As people think about becoming more sort of self-sufficient, self-sustaining, is it a all or nothing, or are there sort of smart ways that someone who maybe is new to the space can start to sort of adapt different types of practices into their existing lifestyle?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get caught in the mindset of I have to do all the things. And I think we've all experienced that. I know I have. It's like you feel like you need to check all the boxes and have all the animals. But no, I don't think that's true at all. I'm not even 100% self-sufficient either. And I don't know if I necessarily want to be 100%, but I always like to think better is better. Every small step starts or counts. And doing it gradually, I think, really is the best way to do it. So just pick one thing, whether that's sourdough bread or maybe starting a small garden. Maybe it's even learning how to cook from scratch, because there's no sense in starting a big garden, if you don't know what to do with those ingredients. So really just start with, the basics where you feel comfortable or something you're excited about. Maybe it's bees, and you want to start there instead of a garden. So I always recommend start slow till you feel comfortable and you've mastered it, and then move on to the next thing.
What is the most common sort of entry point for someone that is starting to say, okay, I'm interested in finding some more self-sustaining solution? What is the sort of, what are a few of the low hanging, things that someone might be able to start doing, tomorrow kind of thing, and just to see how that truly can impact their life in such a positive way?
I would say that kind of the most popular low-hanging fruit to start with would be sourdough bread. That's a big one that I was into as well early on. And it's pretty easy. There is an art to it, but once you get the hang of it, it's just a wonderful way to be more self-sufficient. And it's better for us too, because that sourdough fermentation helps break down that gluten molecule. It just wakens up all the nutrients, you absorb them a whole lot better. Other things too would be gardening. So that's kind of an easy one that most people think of when they start thinking about a more self-sufficient lifestyle. But it doesn't have to be this massive garden either. I started on a small little city lot, and all I did was take a shovel and I just turned over the soil and I put seeds right in the ground. It doesn't have to be this big, massive undertaking. I probably spent $20 on my first garden. Wasn't my best garden ever, no, but it was still pretty darn good. And obviously I got excited about it. It was successful enough that I wanted to keep going.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Switching gears, Erin, as we obviously talked about sort of things coming out of the pandemic, I think it's so befitting that here we are, a couple years removed now, but it was certainly a time when everybody was tethered to their homes and re-looking at every paint color that was on their wall, and finally had a chance to put some time and attention to all those projects and things that maybe they sort of put off. It seems like everybody is always in the market for new inspiration, new ideas to be able to enhance their home environment, and would love to just get to hear from you in terms of where do you draw your inspiration from, and how do you start to, when you work with clients, sort of approach them as to where they should get started in that home design experience?
That's a great question. I mean, so many places. Clearly, other designers, top brands will have new furniture and decor collections that come out seasonally. And to be honest, clients, new home builds, generally, they're going to be picking some of the newer materials that come out and what's latest to market. So you kind of are able to see from those sorts of clients in that situation what the market is offering. But to be honest, most people have a good idea of what they're looking for in terms of what they want to fix.
Okay. And what is one of the more common requests that you get?
I would say the most common one is, how do I pull this space together, right? People generally know, right, what kind of style they want or what they're looking for. So it's really just helping them to understand the design principles that they're not familiar with, right? To pull everything together. So understanding scale and color palette and placement are key to making your home look cohesive and making everything flow. So that's really what I end up helping them with, or giving them different options to basically guide them to, the style that they're looking for.
Hmm. And are there, and how then do you go and source then those different types of, offerings, right? In terms of the furniture you might recommend and things, are there places that you sort of will kind of look to typically, and how does that information get presented back to, into your customers?
Yeah, so it all really starts with a budget, right? So everyone is working with a different budget, and so that's the starting point, and that also clearly would determine where I'm going to source
Mm,
products from. As far as, color schemes and stuff like that, we can work based on what their style is. But once we have a budget, then I can kind of pull from there. I mean, I really love the kind of mix of things, and I think there are some things that are worth investing money in, and then
mhm,
other things that really, post pandemic, one of the things that has changed a lot is the ability to get um, really moderately priced goods that really mimic designer designs. And so, that's been exciting to see as well, is to be able to give them those options.
that's cool. And do you find that there's no limitation in terms of where that, where consumers sort of ideas might be looking for? So there might be other, you know, global or cultural dynamics that consumers are looking to sort of integrate into their homes and things. Is that sometimes part of the, sort of the requests and the aperture that consumers have today?
Yes, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone has cultural differences, right? And so there are also maybe heirloom pieces that they are important to them. And so I've definitely had instances where a client says, this, sideboard is important to me because it was my great grandmother's, and it's not necessarily my style, but how do I take this piece and incorporate it in my home and kind of build around it so that it does feel like it's cohesive and goes with everything, for sure.
So that's super interesting. So like finding new ways to sort of repurpose some of those heirlooms and antiques. And is it sometimes then sort of finding alternative ways to use them too?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely find alternative ways. I mean, furniture refinishing is, a huge trend right now in itself, and taking pieces that, let's say Facebook Marketplace is really popular right now as far as finding pieces and, sanding them, refinishing them, reupholstering them to make them new again. And I think what consumers are seeing, outside of the fact that these pieces generally have a little bit more of a vintage flair to them, is that some of the pieces that are out there today, even at some of the big retailers, they're not even real wood. It's
Mm,
MDF or a wood top and MDF sides. So by finding some of these pieces that were crafted in all wood, I mean, that's a find and a savings in itself, right?
that's cool. Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, material obviously playing is a super pivotal part of that. That's cool. Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. So Tim, thanks for your patience as we get around to you as well. So Tim, it's great to connect with you. Obviously, you're certainly in LA, in the heart of a fitness center of America. I, as someone who has traveled many times back and forth from New York to LA, one of the biggest questions that I have is, what do you have to recommend to people who are sort of constantly traveling, always on the road, whether it's for work or whether it's for pleasure? I think, everyone always wants to maintain, the right nutrition and fitness schedules and things like that when they're on the road. What kind of tips do you have for folks like us, that are, want to make sure we're still doing our due diligence and discipline when we're not home?
That is a great question. That's a huge part of how people kind of their goals get derailed, is because they have to travel for work or family or whatever it is. So trying to stay on your routine while you travel is essential. Some big suggestions that I have is bring protein bars when you travel. Try to have the same sleep-wake schedule, because your circadian rhythm is going to stay consistent. You're going to burn more calories. And also try to walk everywhere you can. When in doubt, try not to hop in that Uber. Just go for a walk, get to your next destination. And also limiting alcohol. Alcohol can really mess up your sleep. So when you're staying out late, drinking, you're not really recovering as well. You're not burning as many calories. You're not going to wake up the next day and go for that walk. So just trying to keep your same schedule as much as you can while you're on the road. It's very important.
That's awesome. Obviously, you have a huge community of individuals that obviously you support from a whole health, total health perspective. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of community when it comes to one's sort of personal growth?
Oh yeah, totally. So community is very important. I mean, they say you're a sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? So you want to surround yourself with people who are healthy, who are motivated, who bring you up mentally and physically. So, also you're less likely to slip up if you have someone that's kind of holding you accountable. So yeah, community is extremely important.
Mm-hmm. And what goes into a sort of like a coach, and mentee sort of relationship, right? So as you come and obviously you work with people who may be getting started in sort of their own, life journey and wanting to kind of get a healthier and more fit, nutrition schedule and workout schedule. And you also have people who probably have, been involved in that space for a long time, but are maybe to look to sort of shake things up. So how do you sort of approach those two different ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's a good point. I mean, I work with people who have never touched a weight in their life, professional athletes or actors, so obviously you start people different. Everyone has a different walk of life. So, if it's someone who's never worked out, I start with the basics, just teaching them how to move, how to do a basic body weight squat, how to do a push-up, like very simple stuff, and then when we get towards the athletes, it's more of the athletic training, the high intensity, so just, really kind of seeing where their background is and kind of gauge it, where to start, is definitely very important.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine you probably get, a lot of people who, start and then sort of run into, different sort of walls that they hit in terms of, can I see it through, that type of thing? Like, how do you help people sort of work through, just that sort of that challenge and that mental roadblock that so often can come when someone is making such a change to their lifestyle?
Yeah, I think just staying consistent and not thinking it's going to be an overnight success, right? It's time, it's effort, it's every day trying to make good decisions. And if you slip up a little bit on the weekend, just get back on the saddle on Monday. It's okay to slip. It's just how you respond. And just always try to put one foot in front of the other. It's kind of a big deal.
And is it about because there's so many aspects to it, right? There's the physical aspect of it, right? There's the nutritional aspect of it. And obviously we're seeing more and more the importance of, mental and sort of total health. So as we think about things like the importance of sleep, as we think about, just our own sort of mental capacities and things, like how do all of those things play into you developing a coaching plan for your customers?
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I'm a firm believer of the whole body wellness, mental, physical well-being, relationships, everything. So it's all encompassing. So, say you're killing it in the gym, but you're going and you're eating bad food, you're not going to get the results. Or you're killing it in the gym, you're eating great, but you're not sleeping. You're not going to recover as well. You're going to be sore. You're going to get sick. So just making sure you have a well-rounded, holistic health and wellness routine is essential. Winding down the night, staying off of your phone after like 8 or 9 p.m., to getting that morning sunlight, to, I'm a big believer of intermittent fasting. So, I don't eat between, I eat food from I don't eat from 8 p.m. to 12, so my body can kind of burn that fat and just, you know, keep the engines revving.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's my fun question for you. So
Yes.
what is your go-to meal?
That's a great question.
Maybe phrase it as what's your go-to meal when it's like your cheat day versus like, you know, your not cheat day kind
There
of
you
thing.
go. Okay, that's the difference there. So my go-to healthy meal would probably be barbecued chicken thighs with bell peppers and sautéed onions and sweet potatoes. Go-to healthy meal. Go-to cheat meal, probably Burger Lounge turkey burger. That's one of my go-tos.
That's awesome. So Tim, let me ask you a question. There's so many terms that sort of get thrown around when people start to think about nutrition and, you know, trying to understand macros versus micros, and do I need to be taking all these additional vitamins and supplements and all of that. And I know obviously it varies, you know, person by person, but can you just help us get a good understanding and a baseline understanding of, you know, just what those things are and how important is education also as part of an individual's sort of growth towards a more, nutritious, healthy, fit lifestyle?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big believer of keeping things simple and keeping things attainable. So, you know, unless you're competing in bodybuilding shows, I don't believe you have to track your macros and measure your food. You know, keep it simple, make good decisions. When in doubt, go for a lean protein, go for a veggie, go for a carbohydrate that's healthy, like a sweet potato, a quinoa, brown rice, and just, you know, try to get in 10,000 steps a day. Try to get, 30 to 45 minutes of exercise 3 to 5 days a week. Just really kind of keep things simple and don't overwhelm yourself with unrealistic goals, because then if you fall off, you'll get derailed, you'll get demotivated. So yeah, just keep things smart, keep things consistent, and keep things attainable.
Awesome. That's cool. Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do some fun questions here for the group. Obviously, you know, as I said on the onset, we are a platform that is, you know, really designed for, you know, consumers to be able to come on and, you know, connect with great experts like the three of you. Would love each of your guys' take on sort of what advice would you give to people that are sort of new to your field? The classic, you know, how do I get started? And I think I would love your answer from sort of two perspectives, right? The first is as a consumer who might be interested in, you know, looking into this space. Hey, I'm interested in you know, a new lifestyle, a change in my home, whatever it is. But I'm also curious for the, you know, the aspiring experts out there, the people who are starting to, you know, say, hey, wait a minute, this is really cool that there's a lot of other people like me that sort of specialize in these things. And I have a real passion and a drive for this field. What are ways for me to get started? So would love to get your take both from a sort of a consumer standpoint, as well as someone who maybe wants to, you know, think about sort of their own, building out their own expertise in this to then be able to offer to consumers as well. So Katie, if I could start with you, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So I would say for the general consumer, the best place to start is going to be very individualized to you, your space, your goals, how much time you have. So I always recommend starting with something small. So don't totally overwhelm yourself with like starting with large livestock or something, you know, like maybe just start with sourdough, or maybe brewing kombucha. That was one of the first things that I started with. It's, you know, you're not investing a lot of money in it. You don't have to dedicate a bunch of space to it, and it saves money. So I was buying kombucha, which was $5 a bottle, and now I can make it for pennies for a bottle, which is awesome. And then you just kind of keep adding from there. Another way to look at it is where am I spending most of my money? If you're spending a lot of money on organic produce, maybe starting a garden is the best place for you. So yeah, I just encourage you to kind of do some reflecting on what's really going to be enjoyable for you. If working in a garden doesn't sound like fun, you know, don't do that either. So kind of hitting from all angles. What are you going to enjoy? What's going to pay off the most? And make sure that you don't totally overwhelm yourself by going massive, like doing a big garden. Maybe just start with a small one. If it goes well, keep expanding from there.
Love that.
And then did you want me to talk about the
Yeah,
higher level expert one as well?
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so that's something that I've been doing over the last couple of years as I've evolved into from just a backyard homesteader to the homesteading RD. I guess I would just lean into where you're passionate and kind of pick your niche. So for me, I'm coming from a dietitian background, so that's where the RD comes from. So I try to tie in, kind of my experience with working in a conventional medicine model and evolving more to this holistic side and hopefully giving some more nutrition based tips along with the homesteading and self-sufficiency content. So for anyone else out there, you probably have a certain niche. Maybe you're awesome at sourdough, maybe you love making cheese, and just really honing in on that expertise. People are going to latch onto that and love learning from you.
That's awesome. Cool. And Erin, what about you?
So from a consumer perspective, I would say, sort of the same thing. Pick a room or pick a space in your home and either, look for inspiration on what you want to emulate, or maybe you already know in your head what you want to emulate, and try to source out, all the products that you would need to complete the space and do, one at a time. To do a whole home, it's overwhelming and it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of decisions at once. So I think that takes a little bit more expertise, and, there is a saying that home takes time, and that's okay. And I think we spend so much time at home. Everyone wants it to be up to their standards as far as aesthetic looking. But it's okay if it takes you time to get there. And then as far as a professional aspiration, I would say clearly take a course, find a job, working for someone who's more established to get some training. And then when you feel confident enough in your skill set, I would say that try to take some jobs pro bono to really build up your portfolio so that you can market yourself for future clients.
That's awesome. And Erin, are there certain tools that, like, when you work with a customer, right? Like, obviously they're finding lots of inspiration from all over the place. And how do you advise them to sort of organize their thoughts? And are there certain tools or technologies or anything that they should be sort of thinking about, or maybe starting to just sort of experiment with and use, so that they can start to kind of, put their arms around a vision and how they might work with you?
Yeah, so I think one of the pluses of working with someone with experience is that hopefully, whoever you're working with is kind of this isn't their first time doing it. So they're a little bit more, the experience comes into play in being able to ask the right questions to kind of wrangle the thoughts for you, versus if you're doing it on your own. That's why I said take one room at a time, because it can get super overwhelming. But, when I'm working with a client, I have a list of go-to questions that basically I can get answers for, that kind of help rein in or wrangle in, what the person is looking for, and what I would say are their non-negotiables, things that they definitely are looking for, because to me, function is super important, right? So what are the things functionally they really need? And then we can kind of talk about like the aesthetic feel of it, as a second part.
It's awesome. Very cool. That's great. And Tim, what about you?
So from a consumer standpoint, I would just say do your research, figure out what your goals are, and interview coaches. I definitely suggest hiring a coach, but make sure it's the right fit. Make sure they're credible. I really think the way to go is go through referrals. So ask your friends or your family if they've worked with a coach that they trust, and just make sure it's a good fit. Make sure they have the background, certifications, knowledge, and experience. And then from a new professional trying to get into the fitness industry, I would say definitely get your certifications. Education is key. Always try to get more knowledgeable in your field, and then start off at like a big gym, learn the ropes, learn how to interact with clients, learn how to retain, learn how to program your workouts, and just keep going to different conferences and hands-on learning, workshops, and networking. Go out, meet people in the industry. Yeah.
Very cool. Love that. All right, so we're going to do a couple of just sort of fun questions to sort of close things out. So this is obviously, they'll be a little bit sort of geared towards everyone's respective field. But Tim, I guess we'll start with you. So, what is your favorite piece of wellness tech that you use today?
All right, I would say I have two of them. I would say the Aura Ring for sleep is really important. As I said, sleep is essential for recovery, for building muscle, for losing fat, for recovering your brain and mood and everything. So tracking your sleep, not just the amount of sleep you have, but also the quality from REM to deep is very, very important. Tracking your HRV, how your body's recovering. And then from a fitness standpoint, I think having an Apple Watch is really good, or any type of step counter. Just making sure that you're, trying to hit your goal in steps. Walking is such an underrated tool to kind of get results. So just making sure you're hitting that 10K if that's your goal, or if even if it's 8K steps per day, whatever it is, just really trying to get out and move that body.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Katie, for you, what is your favorite food to grow, and what is the most challenging?
Oh, that's hard to pick. I'm trying to think. Can I say two of my favorites?
Of course, yes.
Okay, good. Because I like them for two different things. So one would be like potatoes and garlic, because it's almost like Christmas when you're harvesting, because you plant them deep in the ground and then you just wait it out. And you don't really know how they're doing until it comes to the harvest. And so it's kind of super fun to just start digging and see what you end up with. It's always a fun surprise. Usually, sometimes it's less fun of surprise if the season wasn't too kind, but usually it turns out okay. The other thing that I absolutely love to grow, especially since I'm in a cold climate, so I'm in Minnesota, I'm in zone 3B, and so I love the brassica family. So that's going to be anything like kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. They do really well in a cool climate. They tolerate frost really well, and they're a nutritional powerhouse. They have a compound called sulforaphane, which just basically battles anything, whether it's, inflammation, cancer, you name it. So those are definitely my favorites.
Awesome.
And then you asked the hardest thing to grow?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say cilantro. I love cilantro, but that's something I gave up on many years ago. But I will say I did order some cilantro seeds this year to give it another try. It bolts really easily, which means it goes to seed. So for me, I could hardly harvest anything before it was toast. So we'll see how this year goes. I'm always a big fan of trying again. So
awesome. Very cool. And Erin, we have two fun questions for you. One, what is your favorite HGTV or home-inspired TV show? So we'll start with that one, and then I'll ask the second one.
Yeah, so you guys are, this is not a very fun answer, but it's, an unpopular opinion. I don't really watch HGTV much at all. I mean, I have a preschooler at home, and this job keeps me really busy. So I think when my daughter is in college, I'll get a chance to catch up on all TV in general. So I wish I had a better answer for the HGTV one.
I love it.
I could throw a show out there, but it wouldn't be honest.
All good. All right. So then the last question then is, what role does your husband play in helping to sort of create the aesthetic in your home, and who holds the final vote?
So he really just lets me do my own thing. If there's a major change that's going to be more permanent, like any designer would, I present him with options. And if he really dislikes 1 out of 3 options, I wouldn't pick that option. But, generally he's really supportive. I mean, we've been together for 18 years, so we kind of stay in our own lanes.
I love that strategy, though, of presenting options, and then he just has to choose one. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I create renderings, and so I'm like, here are the renderings, and I try to leave things like price and all the the nuances out and make it just really
I love that. That's awesome. That is a great strategy that I hope all of our viewers are taking careful care of. Awesome. Well, this has been a tremendous, tremendous time. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know the three of you. I hope our viewers have obviously gotten a chance to just see the breadth of expertise and the people that we have on this platform and that we are a part of the Smeeple community. We're so grateful that you guys are a part of this. We encourage you guys for any of your needs, whether it's in homesteading, home, or fitness and health and wellness. Please look up Tim, Katie, and Aaron. Book them. Spend time. They will absolutely help you out. They've been great panelists and participants today. And we just thank everybody so much for tuning in, and be on the lookout for our next Smeeple Live event coming next month. So thanks again, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.